Welcome to Coruzant Technologies, home of the Digital Executive Podcast. Welcome to the Digital Executive. Today's guest is John Conafay. John Conafay is a U.S. Air Force veteran and the CEO and co-founder of Integrate, building program management software with a systems engineering approach for the world's most ambitious machines. Previously, he was an early employee at 3 space unicorns, head of BD at ABL Space Systems, was one of the first 10 employees at Astranis, and interned at Spire Global early on. He also worked at the office of the CFO, NASA headquarters, while at Bryce Tech, and was the director of business development at Spaceflight. Well, good afternoon, John. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Happy to be here.
Awesome. John, I appreciate it. Making the time today, hailing out of the great state of Washington, there in Seattle. Been there a few times. Love the city. I'm over here in Kansas City, so we got a couple hours difference, but love this stuff. So, John, we're going to jump right in here. Can you describe your transition from being a Air Force veteran to delving into the aerospace industry, and how has your military experience influenced your approach to business and leadership in the civilian sector?
Absolutely. So I went into the Air Force Communication Navigation Mission Systems on AWACS, essentially to get a swift kick in the butt and some discipline where it might not have had it growing up. And for all intents and purposes, it worked. I went to school shortly after separating in 11, Arizona State University. And a little known fact about ASU, there are other reputational parts about it, but they have something close to 30 space programs and are incredibly active with NASA and other space programs. So I found a organization called Students for the Exploration and Development of Space, which was a club that was part of the national organization while I was at Arizona State, and came for the technology, fell in love with the people, ended up kind of ripping the national organization up from its roots and rebranding it with a bunch of friends and raising a bunch of money for the endowment from Jeff Bezos and a few other notable names. And that's really how I got my foothold in the space industry. And a lot of that drive, determination, and grit came from my military experience. And then, went into work for 3 billion space companies, as well as a stint at NASA Office of Chief Financial Officer, and now running Integrate.
That's awesome. I love the backstory there. I truly do. And I think we all, as we talked before we hit record here, we both served in the military, and that's just, I think that is foundationally helps a lot of people really do some great things throughout their career. It really does Absolutely. Give you, again, that foundation. So I appreciate the share. I really do. And John, jumping into the next question, you've been an early employee at 3 space unicorns. Can you share key takeaways from these experiences and how they shaped your entrepreneurial journey, especially with ABL Space Systems, Astranis, and Spire Global?
Absolutely. So as I said, joined the space industry after Students from the Exploration and Development of Space. And I've had the fortune of working for multiple founders. The first founder that I worked for is Chris Bryce Christensen, who had an outsized impact on my development, both kind of, it was sort of like getting a masterclass in federal and commercial business development from her as she was starting up Bryce Space Technology. And then got a call from some friends that knew my work at SEDS. And they were starting a company for geotelecommunication satellites, small geotelecommunication satellites. So I was in the single digits employee over there after they raised 20 million. So moved out to San Francisco, worked directly for John Conafay, Ryan McClayco. And it really taught me a lot about the balancing act of velocity and experimentation versus perfection. It's a lot different in hardware where things do have to be pretty perfect, especially in the space industry. But you still have to be able to prove that you can move fast, build things incredibly quickly, while not, completely tripping and face planning. So that's what I learned at Astranis. They put a small satellite up in, I think, under a year when I first got there, and then put a geo satellite up in less time, sort of record time for geo satellites. And then went to Spaceflight after that, which is a little bit more developed, but ABL Space Systems after that was in the 50s with regard to employee count. I think they just raised $40 million. I was head of business development, sold a bunch of rockets to things like Kuiper and some other commercial entities. And that's really where, and the founders have a really spectacular sense of seriousness and duty in what they're doing. And that really resonated with me coming from the Air Force background, and really reflecting back on my time has really affected how I approach, leadership or management in Integrate. The things that we're doing do affect, people's lives and work habits. And you have to take responsibility for that and understand that when things break, it is a serious matter that they need to be fixed. So bringing that sort of scope to the startup journey has been really important. And then right when I was getting into the space industry, while I was still with SEDS, I interned at Aspire Global. I think there were only about 20 to 40 people, and just kind of saw how crazy it was to actually build complex machines. I think they just launched their first 2 satellites and just opened up an office in Scotland. And, seeing what it was to wrangle all of these people and everything together really affected me and helped me start to think about building Integrate even 10 years ago.
Thank you. I love hearing the story of you cutting your teeth at startups. And of course, not just any startup as well. There's a lot that goes into a project like that and to get something successfully launched. And of course, obviously quality and safety is always key. So I appreciate the share on that. And John, the space industry is known for its high stakes and complex challenges. We talked about that. From your extensive background, what are the most significant challenges you faced and how have you navigated them?
Yeah. So going back to that, you only have one opportunity to send things to space, and you can't really get them back once you do. So when you hit go on a launch, it's not only the complex vehicle that is being tested fully, but it's the complex scrapped on top of it. So there aren't, outside of human rated systems like, F1 or airplanes, there isn't really anything like the space industry. And the quality bar has to be extremely high, that the level of seriousness to the work that you're doing, that you're reminded of every day. If you're dealing with very large structures, safety and mission assurance is a huge part of the story. And it's different in software land where Integrate sits, but bringing that sense of seriousness and duty to your customers and things like this has really resonated with a lot of our team, for sure.
Thank you. I can appreciate that for sure. Being in your role, both starting out and as the CEO of your company, I can only imagine the complexities of running a project like that and keeping the quality as high as it is. So thank you for sharing. And John, last question of the day. Your company Integrate aims to build program management software for the world's most ambitious machines. Can you discuss a specific project or collaboration where Integrate's software has made a substantial impact?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do a lot of work with government right now, which probably won't and shouldn't go into. But on the commercial side of things, we're building program management software, as you said, for the world's most ambitious machines. And whether you're building a dishwasher, a satellite, a rocket, or anything in between, it's all about herding cats. It takes immense workforces and very, very complex dealings and supply chains to build all of these things. And I had a pretty severe dissatisfaction with all of the software tools that I've used before, because none of them were really built for building hardware. So the collaborative nature of Integrate is meant to make the process of herding cats and getting these complex systems and processes together substantially easier. You can collaborate internally and externally with subcontractors, customers on the same schedules that you're actually working with, without kind of giving up a ghost on all of your internal, essentially say 100 to 3,000 deliverables, tasks, and milestones to coordinate between spacecraft manufacturer and rocket. And so when you have 30 to 80 of those on a single launch, it's really hard to wrangle in spreadsheets and in an asynchronous way. So Integrate really allows that collaboration to happen much more naturally. And it was really heartening to hear from this customer in particular say, we couldn't have done this in project. We couldn't have done this without Integrate.
Absolutely. We're talking high stakes here, and this is just amazing how you can really bring efficiency to a process or a project like that. And at the same time, ensure some of those quality checks are there in place for a successful launch of a project, or in some cases, a rocket. So thank you. And John, it was such a pleasure having you on today, and I look forward to speaking with you real soon.
So much. Pleasure to be on, and I look forward to speaking with you as soon as possible.
Bye for now.